let me reset the space real quick. Um,
Sure.
Chris, I didn't get a chance to ask you. Can you tell a listener a little bit about yourself and what have you been doing and where do you see yourself going with this
Yep.
project?
So I'm Christy Wells's husband, and I'm going to go as far as I can in that role, and hopefully we'll make some impacts on the world together.
Well, that was really precise information there.
You don't hear her. I hear her in the other room. Christy Wells is my wife, by the way, for those of you who don't know, and she's in the other room laughing, but she didn't want to say anything, so that's very, very funny of her. Um, Christy, come on, get off the microphone. Or get on the microphone.
What would you like me to say, Chris?
I don't know. Tell me where we're going with this.
Well, actually, no, that's not fair because much like Social Media Club, which actually was Chris's idea, um, I am fortunate that I've married an entrepreneurial brainiac who has a great vision for connecting people, resources, just ideas across the board. And I am forever grateful for that brain. But I'm also, as the tactical implementer of those ideas, I actually always like to kind of stay a little behind it all, like stay in the background a little bit. So, Chris, I want you to explain the vision. I want you to explain what's next. I think it's only fair. It's your big idea. You do it the best justice. I love you, but this is not the role I want right now.
All right.
So today I'm going to be Chris Heuer's wife. How's that?
Okay. Hey, I'm in trouble. You know what that means later, don't you? Oh, I'm gonna hear it. Hey, anyways, no, let's be serious for a moment.
Not at all.
Okay, so the question was, when did I see it? So you were talking about 2005. So let me spend just a minute there, and I'm going to get out of it quick and come to the current story. But yeah, I've been working in virtual community for a while, and actually, what happened was I went to the first bar camp, and there was this huge thing happening with Web 2 that was, in my mind, it was kind of silly versioning the web. But as we've learned over the years, it was really just kind of a symbol or a brand for the movement itself to represent this bigger ideal. But at that first bar camp is where it really all came together. And I had already been talking to people behind a lot of these companies. We had already met, Stuart Butterfield from Flickr back then. Of course, Stuart is now famous for being the CEO of Slack and growing that tremendous company that they did. But we had already been meeting all these leaders of these Web 2 companies. And what we saw was that it was really a tech-led revolution, which makes sense. But it was also all inside baseball tech talk. It was also, really geared towards developers. And in that way, it's pretty much literally speaking a foreign language to some people. So when we put on our first event after that first bar camp in the fall of 2005, that was Web 2.1. So in October 2005, we brought together somewhere around 100 people, I guess, including some pretty cool folks like Jeff Jarvis and a bunch of other people who were in town for the Web 2.0 conference that Tim O'Reilly was hosting. We had it in a local TV studio, so we had made the big time already. And we put that whole event together in a week. And what really happened is that the week before, I was walking across the street and I was contemplating it. I was running it over with a couple of friends. Hey, should we do this? Should we not do it? It looks like a good opportunity. It's a real need. We need to open up this space to have more than technologists involved and make it a more open and welcoming space to more people. And so I'm walking across the street and I was just scared to death it was going to be like my fourth birthday party and no one was going to come because it was only a week out and it was just me and who the heck likes me and, all that self-doubt and crap that we go through. And literally I was in the middle of the intersection on 14th and Sanchez and I just said, if I may, fuck it. If it's not me, someone else is going to be doing this. Let's try. And literally just, finding that inner courage to take that first step is one of the first lessons that we learn to share with other people. And that by sharing that story over the past, gosh, now, 17 years, almost 16 and a half years, it really hits home for a lot of people the challenge, the fear, and the simplicity of that one decision and the power of that decision to move forward. And then what we did is that we spent the next, going from there till really about 2011 when I really had to drop out and not be involved in Social Media Club regularly anymore. I went to work for Deloitte at that time and just had too much to do. But for all that time, it was how do we get more regular folks to be able to understand this, to be able to benefit from it, to be able to understand the power. And the reason why I ultimately pursued it and went from this event with 100 or so people put together in a week, that, by the way, ended up donating, I think it was around $1,000 to Creative Commons, because not only did we pull it off, but we pulled it off profitably by a few grand by bootstrapping it. Um, and anyways, as we move forward with it, it was really about that I saw the end of our species in our near future. At the time, we were a couple of years out from the Iraq War in 2005, 2006, right? So that was still fresh. 9/11 was really still a big part of our mindset at the time. And we still, well, we had this big problem, and it's worse today, sadly. And I thought we would solve for it with social media, but we didn't. But this other problem, that seeing people as the other instead of as us, as separate of who we were, and that was creating, and is still creating, more so today, again, sadly, a big divide between our common humanity. And at the time, and as I've said since, I felt that if we could just see past the differences and find our commonalities, that we could literally save the world by starting to see each other as fellow humans. And that ultimately, it was about investing in nothing bigger than myself I could ever imagine, than trying to do something positive to save humanity, to bring people together, and to help more people live their dreams and give their gifts to the world, by being able to access this technology and discover new job opportunities, find a voice, find the opportunity to get a platform to share their ideas, to be recognized for the insights they had, regardless of whether or not, like me, they grew up in a lower middle income family, having government cheese and living on Social Security and all that stuff, or if they had some other kind of privilege that gave them a better leg up. And so that's I knew it before I even got into it. I knew it actually. When I really knew it, there's a very simple answer to that, and I'm going to shut up now and we can move forward. But I knew it when I was selling advertising for Miami New Times, and one of the cold walk-ins on the advertiser side was an internet service provider. It was one of the first ISPs in Florida, and it wanted to advertise in the New Times, and I randomly got that lead. And after talking to Shadow Internet for a little while, all of a sudden I started teaching myself everything about the internet, not by going to the library. The library didn't have any books. The internet didn't have any information about building on the internet. But by going to Borders bookstore every day after work from 5 o'clock until about 10:30 or 11, having a cup of coffee or a cappuccino, and reading any book they got on the internet, the technologies, and whatever. And the one book that really struck me was Howard Rheingold's Virtual Community Network. And so back at that day in '94, that weird evening in the Borders bookstore off of 98th and US 1, near Kendall Drive, I woke up and I said, "This is going to be my life." And now, 28 years later, we're talking on a Twitter space about what's next, and what's next is going to change the world even more than anything we've experienced since.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so happy I have this in a snippet. Like I'm like, this is the kind of information, I didn't know about that actually. That's why I love, that's my new thing now. So when people talk about content creation, what do we do next, in content creation? And I'm kind of like, well, host a Twitter Spaces and collect snippets and put that out as your content. And so you sharing that story has been incredible. Thank you for sharing that.